There is a particular moment that comes to almost everyone. It does not arrive with any warning. You are simply looking at your mother or your father, and something quietly shifts behind your eyes. You see, for the first time, not a parent, but a person. A human being, as confused, as frightened, as unfinished as you are. Maybe you saw them cry in a way they tried to hide. Maybe you heard their voice shake when it was supposed to be steady. And in that instant, the ground moved a little. Because the giant you grew up under was, all along, just a person. Try to remember how big they used to be. When you were small, your parents were not people. They were the weather. They were the size of the sky. They set the rules of reality itself. Their hand was the safest place in the world. You believed they knew everything, that they were never afraid. That behind their calm face was a plan, and the plan always worked. A parent to a small child is something close to a god. All-knowing, all-powerful, the fixed center the whole world turns around. And you needed to believe that. A child cannot survive without it. And then, one day, a crack appears in the statue. You catch them staring at a bill they do not know how to pay. You hear them argue in the next room about something that frightens them. You see them apologize to someone, small and unsure. You watch them get something wrong, badly wrong, and not know what to do. The mask slips for just a second, and behind it you see it. Fear. The same fear you feel, in the eyes that were supposed to have none. And the quiet, lonely thought arrives, maybe for the first time. They do not actually know what they are doing. No one ever did. Because here is the secret no one tells you about being an adult. No one hands you a manual, no one ever feels ready. Your parents held you a brand new life with no idea what they were doing. They were terrified, they were guessing, they were making it up as they went. The confident voice, the certain rules, the steady face. It was, so much of it, a performance for your sake. A scared young person pretending to be sure so that you could feel safe. They were not gods who happened to make mistakes. They were children who grew up and got handed a child of their own. And now try to imagine something almost impossible. Your mother when she was your age, or younger. Your father, as a small boy, afraid of his own father. They were not born as your parents. They had a whole life before you. They had dreams that had nothing to do with you, heartbreaks you will never know. They had their own mother and father who shaped them and wounded them, and loved them imperfectly, in the only way they knew how. The people who raised you were raised by someone too. And whatever they could not give you, look closely, and you will often find they were never given it either. This is how it travels, quietly down the generations. A father who was never held does not learn how to hold. A mother who was never told she was enough cannot find the words to say it. They hand down what was handed to them, the love and the wound, in the same package. Not out of cruelty, out of not knowing there was another way. The harsh thing your parents said to you was very often said to them first, in a kitchen long ago by someone now gone. They were not the source of the river, they were just a place it passed through. And understanding that does not erase the hurt. But it changes it. It turns a betrayal into an inheritance. And consider what they carried that you never saw. The nights they lay awake about money, while you slept, certain all was well. The job they stayed in, that quietly killed something in them so you could eat. The dreams they folded up and put away the day you were born. The fear, every single time you were late, that the world had taken you. You only ever saw one side of them, the side that was facing you. You never saw the whole person turned toward their own private struggles. The parent you knew was only ever a fraction of the human being who was there. And so much of what they did for you, you were never meant to see at all. Still, there were things you needed and did not get. Words that were never said, a warmth that was not there, a safety that should have been yours and was not. This is real, and it matters, and you are allowed to grieve it. To understand your parents is not to pretend they were perfect. It is not to excuse what should not be excused. It is something quieter and harder and more freeing. It is to see that a person can love you and still fail you because they were carrying more than they could hold. Both things are true. They almost always are. The Stoics had a hard, clear way of seeing this. No one does wrong on purpose, they said. People act from what they know. And your parents acted from what they knew, from their fear, their wounds, their limits. Given who they were, and all they carried, and all they were never taught, they were likely doing the very best they were able to do. That is not a verdict that they were right. It is a release from the belief that it could easily have been otherwise. They were not withholding some better version of themselves on purpose. That better version, so often, simply did not exist yet. You can hold them responsible and still set down the rage. Those are different acts. And then time does the strangest, most humbling thing of all. Slowly, the giant begins to shrink. The hand that once held yours becomes the one that needs holding. You notice your parent hesitate on a stair they used to climb without thought. You explain a phone to them, the way they once explained the world to you. You hear yourself become gentle and patient, the way they once were with you. The child becomes the keeper. The roles turn quietly around. And in that turning, the last of the illusion falls away. They were never the sky. They were always just a person, walking you as far as they could. And maybe now you understand them in the only way that truly works. By becoming them. The day you have your own people to keep, your own bills, your own fear, your own guessing. The day you snap in a voice you swore you would never use. The day you realize you are improvising too, terrified, pretending to be sure. That is the day your parents are finally fully forgiven. Because now you know, there was never a manual, there was never a grown-up who had it solved. There was only ever a frightened person doing their best for someone they loved more than themselves. You are now the giant in someone's memory, or you may be one day. And you too are just a person. So look at them now while you still can with these new eyes. Not as the parent who should have been more, but as the person who was only ever exactly what they were. A whole, flawed, frightened, trying human being like you. There may be things to forgive. Forgive what you can. It is for you, not only them. There may be things to thank them for that you never said. Say them. The window for this does not stay open forever. One day the chair they sit in will be empty. And every word you were saving will have nowhere left to go. So if they are still here, call them, not for a reason, just to hear the voice. Look at the person, not the role. Ask them about who they were before you. You may meet a stranger you would have liked. And if they are already gone, then do this. Forgive the person, not the parent. Thank the human, not the giant. They did what they could, with what they had, carrying what they carried. And so will you, and so will the ones who come after you. That is the whole aching ordinary story of being a person. They were never gods, they were just people. And they loved you the only way a person can,